Okay, so this is video 3, and I want to talk about how you might solve for your variable if you have the natural log of something or e is being raised to a power. So for example, how would you solve for x if you had 2 times e to the x plus 5 equals 115, like that. Okay, so you want to work from the outside in, right? So you see that e is being raised to the x. I'll deal with the e last. Okay, 2 is multiplied by the e that is raised to the x, so the 2 would be second to last in terms of what I deal with. And then out here, more loosely attached to the e is this 5. So I'll get rid of that first. Notice it says plus 5, so I will subtract 5 minus 5. Okay, 2 e to the x equals 110, like that. Okay, so notice I said we'll deal with this 2 before the e, so this is 2 times e to the x, so I'm going to divide by 2. I'll divide by 2, I'll get e to the x is equal to 55. Alright, so I'm getting there. The e is the last thing that I need to get rid of. The only thing that can unravel the e is the natural log. So I'm going to apply APPLY. I'm not multiplying. The natural log is not a number. I am applying the natural log to both sides of this equation. So the natural log of e to the x equals the natural log of 55. Notice these two haven't changed. All right, so what happens? The natural log and e, they cancel each other out, and just leave me with x equals the natural log of 55. Like that. Okay, so then what would happen instead if we had 8 plus the natural log of 5x minus 1, that quantity is equal to 10. So as I said, you need to work from the outside in. So the last thing I'll deal with is this 5 that is multiplied by the x. And then I'll deal with this subtracting of 1. And then before that, I will deal with the natural log, and before that I have to deal with the 8. Alright, so let's get to it. This is plus 8, so minus 8 minus 8. So you get the natural log of 5x minus 1 is equal to 2. Alright, so now I need to get rid of the natural log. The only thing that gets rid of the natural log is the e. So watch what I'm going to do. E raised to the power of the natural log of 5x minus 1. So notice I put the natural log in the power because that's how e works. It's usually e to the x, right? Equals e raised to the 2. So I'm consistent with what I'm doing on the left and on the right. So the e and the natural log cancel each other out. I get 5x minus 1 equals e squared. Okay, just a quick note, pi is approximately 3.14. You should remember that e is approximately 2.718. E is a number just like pi is, right? So when they want e squared, they basically want 2.718, the quantity squared. Your calculator will find that, so please feel free to find it. Okay, so then I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So then 5x is equal to whatever e squared is. So it's a number bigger than 9, but less than 16 plus 1. And I'll divide everything by 5. So then x equals whatever e squared is plus 1, that number divided by 5. Alright, so I've given you a host of problems to do starting on page 4 of the notes and expectations. So I'm just going to take a look at a couple of those. So number 1, for example, natural log of e cubed. Notice that one's pretty straightforward. Should just be 3. Okay. So some of them are a little bit more tricky, require you to remember a few more rules. So 3, for example, says e to to the 8 natural logs of 1. There are a couple ways you could do this, and one of them is just going into your calculator and see what the natural log of 1 is. Turns out it's 0. So this is e to the 8 times 0, which is just e to the 0, which equals 1. Okay, so I'm going to allow you guys to try some of those. I would like to try problem number 12. And that's 7 minus 2 natural log of x squared is equal to negative 5. Okay, so I'm working from the outside in. So the last thing that I'll deal with is the fact that the x is squared. So I'm going to subtract 7, like that. Negative 2 natural logs of x squared equals negative 12. Okay, so then I'm going to divide by negative 2. I'll divide by negative 2. So then the natural log of x squared is equal to 6. All right, I'm getting there. Notice I need to get rid of the natural log. The only thing that does it is the e. So I get e to the natural log of x squared equals e to the 6th power. There you go. Those two cancel each other out. Leave you with just x squared equals e to the 6th. So then you take the square root. Notice you guys can find this number in your calculator. It's 2.718 multiplied by itself 6 times. So then x equals the square root of e to the 6th. Technically plus or minus. Okay, so then briefly let me also look at problem number 13, and then I'm going to call it quits from there. So you get 10 e to the x over 4 plus 2 is equal to 7. Okay, so again, if we're trying to get to the x, the last thing we're going to do is deal with the fact that x is divided by 4. And then right before that, we'll deal with the e. And then before that, we'll deal with the 10. And this 2 is the one that's most loosely connected to the x. So let's get rid of it first. Minus 2 minus 2. So 10 e to the x over 4 equals 5. So then divide by 10. Divide by 10. E to the x over 4 equals 0.5. Getting there. Okay, the only thing that's going to unravel the e is the natural log. So I'm going to apply. Again, it's not multiply. The natural log is not a number. It's like saying that you're going to multiply both sides by the square root. You can't multiply by the square root. The square root is a function. It does something magical about what comes immediately after it, right? It's applied to a number. Okay, so the natural log of e to the x over 4 equals the natural log of 0.5. Those two cancel each other out, and you get x over 4 equals the natural log of 0.5. Notice if I read this out loud, it would be x divided by 4. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 4. And I'm going to multiply this side also by 4. All right, let me write it like this for consistency's sake. So those cancel and just give me x equals 4 times the natural log of 0.5. Okay, you'll notice that I put the 4 in the front. Please find these numbers. I'm not doing them right now because I know that you guys have the answers. But please find these numbers in your calculator. Put the natural log of 0.5 so that you have the specific number, and then take that and multiply it by 4 so that you'll be able to see x as a numeric value in addition to see it in its natural log form.